Tomorrow, the Minnesota man who killed his family with an axe when he was just 16 will be released from prison at least 12 years early. David Brom spent 35 years behind bars, but a recent change in Minnesota state law paved the way for his release. Jennifer Hoff has more on this controversial policy. Jennifer?
Julie, some Republicans are now vowing to revisit the law that went into effect 2 years ago, but juvenile justice scholars say sentencing someone under 18 to life in prison without the possibility of parole isn't a partisan issue. Rather, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional.
David Brom is a notorious axe murderer from Rochester who at 16 committed the crime that would challenge the juvenile justice system then and now, and those who study it, like University of Minnesota professor Barry Feld.
So along comes David Brom. You know, on the surface, he seemed like a perfectly normal young person until February 18th, 1988, when he axe murdered his mother, father, sister, and brother.
Feld is the nation's leading scholar on the topic, adamant Brom should have been tried in juvenile court, that experts and a judge also agreed to back then.
Apart from this instance, there was no threat to the public. And so the judge, in what was a really very courageous decision, upheld the law. And at that point, Rochester went nuts.
In a controversial move, the Court of Appeals reversed that ruling. The state Supreme Court also supported. Brom eventually sentenced to several life sentences, except the science of brain development has since been rewriting public policies for kids who offend.
No matter what you may think about the crime, they just lack criminal responsibility. And that kids are different is rooted in now a quarter century of social science and medical research, none of which was available when Brom or the laws were in place.
What is your reaction to those who oppose Brom's release?
This isn't a liberal or conservative issue. This is compliance with the Supreme Court's decision that kids are different.
The High Court ruling in 2012 it's unconstitutional to sentence juveniles to life without parole. 28 states making similar changes, including Minnesota, paving the way for Brom to now be released.
The entire field of juvenile justice has been revolutionized.
So the Department of Corrections says Brom will be transferred to a halfway house in the Twin Cities as part of his release process, not Olmsted County, where Rochester is, where he committed those crimes. And this is all because of a newly formed supervised release board that agreed to this release when Brom made his case several months ago, back in January, to those members. Now remember, this is not a guarantee, this entire process. This is just an opportunity for people to go against this board and argue to be released and have parole. For example, 23 people convicted as juveniles, Julie, went before that board last year. Only 4 were actually granted parole.
Well, certainly a case we'll continue to watch closely. Thanks so much, Jennifer.